Before we hop into this run, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer. This first Marshadow run was filmed on February 17th, 9 months ago to the date of this release, and things have changed since this first playthrough, like my layout and how I go about these backports. But I'll get into why things are different for this little guy. So let's proceed with seeing how fast Marshadow can beat Pokemon Blue. Rules are in the description. Now, I'm sure the first thing that you looked at is Marshadow's move pool on the right hand side of the screen. It starts with all 3 elemental punches, and there is a reason for that. Before we look at that though, I just want to freeze frame this front sprite. This is another one that was made by SharkGuy01 that I found on Reddit, and the back sprite, I did my best on it. It's not the best, but it is what it is. But let's get back to talking about its Generation 7 learn set. It has 10 moves at level 5, Laser Focus, Assurance, the Elemental Punches, Drain Punch, Counter, Pursuit, Shadow Sneak, and Force Palm. The reason behind why I went with the 4 moves it starts with is because they're all already in Generation 1. Although if I were to remake this backport from scratch today, I think I would give it Force Palm and Shadow Sneak. I would probably find a good substitute for Pursuit, and of course Counter is already in Generation 1. The other reason I went with the Elemental Punches on its starting moveset is because of Marshadow's stats, and this tiny mythical Pokemon packs a punch, literally, boasting a 125 base attack stat and 90 special stat with 125 speed. This thing is going to be hitting everything relatively hard, and for this particular backport, I imported 2 new moves, Shadow Punch and Spectral Thief, the second of which is Marshadow's signature move. For Gen 1 purposes, it's just a 90 base power ghost move. I wish I knew how to put close combat in Generation 1, but I substituted this for high jump kick. I think the day I figure that out is the day I'll come back and redo this backport. But enough about all that, let's hop right into this run. As you can imagine, Marshadow is going to be doing the bare minimum. I'm only going to be fighting the mandatory bug catcher at the end of Viridian Forest. Fire Punch makes taking out the Weedle quickly, and we can move right on to Brock. Geodude is the lead. I go for Ice Punch, and it doesn't one-shot, which isn't surprising. Both of his Pokemon are going to be 2-hit KOs with this move. Onix does outspeed, but even if it went for a turn 1 bide, you're in no danger of ever losing this one. Marshadow earns the first badge quickly. I'm going to do a big jump cut here to Cerulean City. Marshadow doesn't struggle on Route 3 and has plenty of PP to get through all of the mandatory trainers, and it takes no optional battles in Mount Moon, only picking up the rare candy and escape rope, and skipping out on Mega Punch. The next big decision I have is, do I fight Misty first or the rival? And considering Marshadow is only level 13, I think fighting the rival and going through Nugget Bridge makes the most sense. Even though I have a fairly powerful move for the early game in Thunder Punch, I don't think it's quite enough to defeat Misty right now. And the rival just doesn't have the manpower to compete with our mythical Pokemon. Pidgeotto misses a sand attack, so my accuracy is intact, and there's 0 struggle in this battle. And as a reward, we level up to 15 at the end and can learn Rolling Kick, which will be an upgrade over Low Kick. Nugget Bridge is next, and I think I'll take this time to talk about the TMs I chose for Marshadow and why. Looking at the TMs from Sun and Moon, it gets access to some pretty good ones. 2 that stick out to me are Work Up and Bulk Up, which if it learned either of these by level up, this just might be the best Pokemon I've played in Generation 1 to date, but it doesn't. In terms of TMs though, it does learn Rock Slide, which is in Gen 1 as a TM, and I figured as a part fighting type, there's no reason why it can't learn Submission, Counter, and Seismic Toss. And this little guy definitely looks like he would be able to learn Body Slam. And considering it does get the move Copycat by level up, which I substituted for Mimic, I felt like this was good to include as well. I think everything on the list is pretty self-explanatory and makes sense, but if there's something you don't agree with, let me know in the comments. After going through Nugget Bridge and Route 25, Marshadow is level 18. I hit level 19 after defeating the mandatory junior trainer in Misty's gym, and now I'm ready to take on the water type specialist. Staryu is first. I outspeed her lead and go for Thunder Punch, which gets the one shot. She sends out her ace, who outspeeds me, and Bubble Beam does quite a bit of damage while lowering my speed in the process, as Thunder Punch does over half, but Misty throws the battle going for an X defend, as Thunder Punch takes out Starmie, earning me the Cascade badge. After defeating Misty, I had the opportunity to learn Mimic, which I chose not to learn. The 3 punches and rolling kick are all I need for now. 3 decent special options that will start to fall off sometime in the mid to late game, and a decent physical option. On the SSN, I elect not to get Body Slam or the Gentleman Candy, even though Body Slam would be an upgrade in terms of base power over everything on my current set. And the move in my opinion that would make the most sense to replace is Fire Punch. Fire type moves in Generation 1 are super effective against Bug, Grass, and Ice types. Since almost all Ice types are also part water, Thunder Punch would be more effective, making it really only super effective against Lorelei's Jinx. But I'll have better fighting options by then, which give neutral coverage against Jinx, who has frail defense. While I do have Erica coming up, and the rival will have an Execute and Executor later on, Ice Punch also gives super effective damage, and the chance to freeze is a plus. And then there's the Bug type, which is frail both on the physical defense and special side of things, and there aren't going to be many bugs I come across for the rest of the run. Perhaps this is something I can correct in the follow-up attempt. I think that's enough rambling for now. Let's get into this Rival 3 battle. And I really could have spoke over this battle as well. I one-shot the first 2 Pokemon with ease, moving on to Kadabra. And this thing is going to be a problem when it becomes an Alakazam later on. And in this battle, I'm making a mistake against it that I make in later battles. And it does hit decently hard with confusion, but I'll point out later on what I should be doing against this because I do correct it in this first playthrough. Charmeleon's last, and I get a nice flinch with Rolling Kick. I forgot it has that as a secondary effect. With the rival defeated, let's go ahead and face Lieutenant Surge. Voltorb is first. Rolling Kick leaves it on a sliver, but it just goes for Tackle, which can't hit me. Pikachu is next, and Rolling Kick one-shots it. Last is Raichu. Surge uses a turn 1x speed as Rolling Kick does over half. His ace uses its strongest attack, Thunderbolt, doing over a quarter, but it doesn't paralyze me and Marshadow takes it out, earning me the Thunder badge. I know I went on that tangent about Fire Punch a few minutes ago in this run, and on the way to Rock Tunnel, we have to fight the Rapping Lass, and Fire Punch comes in handy here, one-shotting her entire team. And then there's this mandatory bug catcher who Fire Punch also decimates. I think the only mandatory bug left from here is Sabrina's Venomoth. The self-destructing Hiker's Pokemon don't get a chance to explode because Ice Punch annihilates him, and we're on to Celadon City. After grabbing Fly and setting my waypoint, I head to the Rocket Game Corner. I don't bother with any high money items, I just get the PP up and rare candy and beeline it to Giovanni. I have Ice Punch for the rock types, and Rolling Kick easily takes care of Kangaskhan. After completing the game corner, I head to the department store. I'm going to pick up the TM for Rock Slide from the little girl on the roof. Afterwards, I sell off everything I don't need and buy 3 calciums. I want to note that aside from skimming through this footage and rewatching it once, this is really my first time deep diving into everything, and I feel like buying calciums was a mistake. I think protein or carbos are the play. From here, I head to Celadon Gym. With the elemental punches still on my moveset, it makes 0 sense to put off Erica. Victreebel is first. Ice Punch doesn't one-shot it and it fires off a Razor Leaf, doing over a third. I really should be using Shadow Punch against this thing since it uses my higher physical attack stat. Ice Punch is also a 2-shot on Tangela as it wastes my time with Bind, which can't hurt me but still traps me. I should be using Shadow Punch against Vileplume as well. Ice Punch does more than half and its Petal Dance scores a critical hit, bringing me to a third of my HP. But Marshadow doesn't get cursed with a Gen 1 miss and we earn the Rainbow badge. Pokemon Tower time. Thunder Punch and Ice Punch still provide super effective damage against 3 of his Pokemon, and soon to be 4 with Charmeleon set to be a Charizard in the next battle. Nothing more to say about this one. I have Shadow Punch for the channelers here, which is nice. It's better than having to use the elemental punches and potentially two-shot the Ghastlies. After Pokemon Tower, I head to Silphco. I feel like this was a mistake. I should have went to Fuchsia and faced Koga first. I'm level 32 at the moment, and I've picked up 4 candies to this point. Mount Moon, Pokemon Tower, Rocket Hideout, and Cerulean City, and going to Fuchsia would have let me level up some against Koga and his trainers, along with the possibility of picking up 2 extra rare candies and vitamins in the Safari Zone. Being this low of a level isn't going to make the rival go smoothly, for other reasons as well, which I'll explain shortly. I'm speed tied with Pidgeot, who wins the first turn, and Wing Attack does about a quarter of my HP. I have to two-shot it, along with the following 2 Pokemon who also have a chance to attack me. Execute thankfully just goes for Reflect and not Stun Spore, while Gyarados goes for Hydro Pump, leaving me with 50 HP for Alakazam, who outspeeds me and takes me out with Psybeam. I battle the Hypno Sandwich Rocket Grunt really quickly to level up to 33 so I don't level up in the middle of the battle, and I use my 4 rare candies I've picked up to this point. But I want to freeze frame it here after I level up to 35 and can learn Rolling Kick. Look at my speed and special stat. These should definitely be flipped, and I went back into my code to check. And yeah, I flipped these 2 stats. I didn't realize it at the time, but it makes sense why Alakazam and other things were outspeeding me, and at least things will be correct in the follow-up run. I try the rival again, and lose again. Then I make my way to the 10th floor to grab an extra rare candy and try again. I make it to Alakazam with full HP, and I finally stop trying to use the elemental punches on this thing and go for Jump Kick. Even though the Psychic type resists the move, it uses my higher attack stat, which does about 2/3. Unfortunately, Alakazam crit its first Psybeam and crits again with Confusion to defeat me. After one more loss, I make it back to Alakazam with full health. Its Psybeam does about half, as Jump Kick does a little over a half. Psybeam gets a lesser roll on the next turn, and Jump Kick finishes it. I finally made it to Charizard. Thunder Punch does about 2/3 as Ember does pathetic damage, and Rival 5 is finally defeated. Giovanni is irrelevant, that's all I'll say about this battle. With how much trouble the Rival's Alakazam gave me, I'm not going to face Sabrina right now. Instead, I'm going to head to Fuchsia City in the Safari Zone. I pick up the hidden rare candy along Cycling Road, and I plan on picking up the Warden candy as well, along with the few vitamins and full restore in the Safari Zone. In Koga's gym, I take safety saves before each juggler, because I don't want to deal with these psychic types. The first juggler with 3 Drowsies and a Kadabra does poison me, which is a bit annoying, but we need to talk about this second juggler. He has a Drowsy and a Hypno, and the first Drowsy has Psychic, which it goes for and scores a critical hit, and I thought the battle was over at this point. I knock out the Drowsy and move on to the Hypno. Jump Kick does a little over 1/3, and Hypno uses Disable, disabling Jump Kick. I go for Ice Punch, hoping for the freeze, and I get one. And I got something ridiculous like 7 freezes with Ice Punch in this run. Originally, I had an idea to put a freeze counter on the side, but I also didn't want to go back and count each freeze and point out each one. It's moments like this and everything up to this point where I felt like I had to show you guys this run from 9 months ago. Now, let's take on Koga. The 2 Coughings are going to be 2 shots, where Muck and Wheezing will be 3 shots. I alternate between Ice Punch and Thunder Punch in this battle, trying to inflict a status condition on his Pokemon. His Muck does manage to poison me, and Coughing number 2 hits me with a Smoke Screen. But unless Wheezing just keeps critting Sludge and I miss every attack, I can't lose this one. And Wheezing just ends up self-destructing, earning me the Soul Badge. At least now I have a speed boost to my stats, but if only Marshadow had a badge boosting move. I'm going to make my way to Cinnabar now. I want the Volcano badge so that I get a boost to my special, which will make Sabrina hopefully a bit easier to manage. So let's face the fire type specialist, Blaine. I just leave my cursor on Jump Kick for this battle. I one-shot the first two Pokemon, I two-shot Rapidash who just misses Fire Spin, and while Arcanine does put up a fight, thanks to no burns and a Fire Blast miss, I take this one pretty easily. We're going to do a bit of a Gym Leader Blitz here and jump straight into Sabrina. Jump Kick leaves Kadabra on a sliver, but Sabrina heals it with a Hyper Potion. I don't get as good of a roll on my second Jump Kick as Kadabra uses Psychic, doing over a third. I take it out and move on to Mr. Mime. Jump Kick does about 2/3 as Confusion does 29 HP of damage. Honestly, a lot less than I thought. Venomoth's Psybeam also does less than I thought, as my second Ice Punch leaves it on a sliver, but I get a freeze. But 38 HP isn't going to be enough to contend with Alakazam. Jump Kick does half to it as it chooses Psywave, leaving me with 13 HP. I'll take the first try victory. Jumping straight into Giovanni, leave your cursor on Ice Punch. I do level up to 45 in this battle and can learn my signature move Spectral Thief, which I teach in the place of Shadow Punch. But now I have to face the rival and his awful Alakazam again. Pidgeot can be awful too, especially if it crits its opening wing attack, which it doesn't here. I can two-shot it with Thunder Punch and one-shot my way through his next 3 Pokemon until I make it to the Alakazam. It goes for a turn 1 Reflect, which weakens the power of Jump Kick, doing less than a quarter. Alakazam then goes for Psybeam, doing big damage. I go for Ice Punch, hoping for one of those lucky freezes, which I don't get on 2 uses of the move, and Alakazam finishes me off. I take 2 more losses to the rival before I decide to use the 4 rare candies in my bag to level up to 49. Thunder Punch still doesn't one-shot Pidgeot, who goes for agility and is now faster than me, letting it hit me with a wing attack which crits, doing over a third. Thanks to the power of video editing, we're going to skip the next 3 Pokemon because nothing changes and move straight on to Alakazam. We now outspeed it, and Jump Kick scores a critical hit, leaving it on low red health, and it just goes for Reflect, allowing me to knock it out with Thunder Punch on the following turn, and I stick with this move against Charizard as well, which two-shots his ace. I level up to 50 at the end of the battle and can learn High Jump Kick, which I replaced Jump Kick with. With how this run is gone, I wanted to pick up the Victory Road candy in case I needed to use it before the champion for worst case scenario. Other than that, Marshadow takes no optional battles in Victory Road, but how will the league go? Lorelei is first, and this battle is easy. Alternate between High Jump Kick and Thunder Punch. The only damage I take in this battle is the 1 HP of crash damage from missing my opening High Jump Kick. There's nothing to worry about in this battle. Bruno's next, and I didn't save before this one, and I learned something new in this battle at the time, and it's that counter can hit ghost types. My High Jump Kick fails to knock out Hitmonchan, and it chooses the move, dealing back double the damage, which easily takes out Marshadow. I was honestly dumbfounded when this happened, but that's Gen 1 at its finest. I correct my mistake in the next battle, instead using Ice Punch, which scores a critical hit, and I easily mop up the rest of his team. It's weird to think that Hitmonchan is his most dangerous Pokemon for Marshadow. Hats off to you and your 35 mediocre special, Hitmonchan. Agatha is next. I have Spectral Thief only for this battle, to give me super effective damage against her ghost types, while also using my higher attack stat. It sucks that this move is only really good for her. Lance is last. I have discounted Thunderbolt and Ice Beam in the form of Ice Punch and Thunder Punch, which 1 or 2 shot his entire team. The league overall was not a challenge for Marshadow, but how will the champion be? Pidgeot is first. I go for Ice Punch, which gets a lucky freeze, easily moving on to Alakazam, but it outspeeds and hits me with Psybeam, doing half as High Jump Kick does half. It chooses Psybeam again, but scores a critical hit to take me out. I used the rare candy I picked up in Victory Road before the next battle, and I've also taught Rock Slide in the place of Spectral Thief. Rock Slide scores a critical hit on Pidgeot to one-shot it, and it's back to the Psychic-type Menace. It doesn't go for its most powerful move, Psychic, and doesn't crit me this time, and I can two-shot it, but I have 28 HP left for the rest of his team. Rhydon and Exeggutor have nothing that can hurt me, but Exeggutor does waste my time with Hypnosis, putting me to sleep. I can one-shot Gyarados with Thunder Punch and move on to his ace Charizard. I'm faster than it, and land a Rock Slide, which is 4 times super effective and one-shots his ace. An interesting first run from 9 months ago. Marshadow finishes at level 56, with an in-game time of 2 hours and 26 minutes. And for all you real-time folks out there, 42 minutes and 16 seconds. This first run with Marshadow stood at the top of my leaderboard for a long time behind the scenes, until Pokemon like Galarian Rapidash, Hisuian Samurott, and Zoroark came around, and were able to surpass it. But I think it has a good shot of surpassing Samurott and Rapidash in its follow-up. Zoroark's typing just makes it too good in my opinion, and I think that's going to stay at the top for a while. With my speed and special stat corrected for this follow-up, I definitely have a plan in place. Let's see what I was able to do. The early game is the same as in the first run. It's going to be minimum battles to Brock and minimum battles to Misty. There are no problems here, and we're only going to be taking 2 optional battles this entire run. The first hiccup in this run comes at the hands of the Dig Rocket Grunt, and it's just me being cocky because I didn't heal, playing aggressive, playing a bit riskier, trying to save time, whatever you want to call it. I get put to sleep by the Drowsy, and by the time I wake up, it's too little too late as a confusion gives us our first reset, but I do get revenge in the follow-up battle. Jumping ahead to the SSN for our first optional battle, you can already guess what it is. It's for Body Slam, and you could possibly skip this move if you opt for Mega Punch in Mount Moon, but I wanted slightly more base power, 100% accuracy, and the chance for paralysis. I'm going to highlight this Surge battle because it's close. I took damage from Rival 3's Kadabra, thanks to missing a Body Slam courtesy of Pidgeotto's Sand Attack. And Body Slam doesn't quite one-shot Voltorb, and it fires off a Sonic Boom doing 20 damage and bringing my HP to 30. I knock it out along with Pikachu, but I thought for sure Raichu would defeat me. I outspeed it and Body Slam does over half and inflicts paralysis. It retaliates with its weaker move, Thunder Shock, doing 13 HP of damage, and honestly a Thunderbolt might have been curtains for me. Now we're going to jump ahead to Celadon and highlight a purchase. I have a plan for my moveset in the late game, and Body Slam unfortunately isn't going to be on it due to moveset constraints. So let's purchase a move that can give me plenty of oomph in the league in TM05 Mega Kick. Once again, Erica is not a problem, same with Pokemon Tower, and now I'm doing what I should have done in the first run, heading to Cycling Road and Fuchsia City. I pick up the rare candy here along with the PP up and quickly go through the Safari Zone, and just around the corner is another reset incoming, but it's not to the jugglers like you would think in Koga's gym, it's to Koga himself. And this one even shocked me when it happened. And you could argue I'm underleveled at 33, and perhaps I should have used some candies here, probably at least 2 to get to level 35 over a damage rounding threshold. But I was honestly just overconfident. I go for Ice Punch trying to inflict a status condition, and Coughing's first Smog poisons me. I also end up running out of Body Slams in this battle because I forgot to use an Ether beforehand, along with the fact Koga's Pokemon are decently bulky. Coughing does have 95 base defense, Muck boasts 75 and 65 in defense and special, and Weezing comes in with 120 and 85 in the 2 stats. Not to mention Muck and Weezing also have a 105 and 90 base attack stat, and even though I resist all of his moves, that poison damage every turn is starting to add up, and I don't win this one. It was slightly disappointing, and one thing I didn't mention earlier that's relevant here is that I took a safety save before the juggler, but didn't save before Koga because I was so confident, so I had to battle the juggler again, and that's relevant because earlier in the run, I saved before Misty, and I was so confident going into the Dig Rocket Grunt battle and got humbled quickly. So a bit of a time loss for all you real-time folks out there, but for my in-game time folks, no harm, no foul. I do get some good luck in the second battle in the form of Body Slam inflicting paralysis and getting getting some nice crits. Now we find ourselves in Silphco, and it's time for our second optional battle against the grunt that guards the Carbos and Rare Candy. Defeating his Machoke gets us to level 35, and I can pop 3 candies to 38 before the rival, and having my speed and special stat corrected is a blessing and a curse. For this battle, it's nice that I can outspeed all of his Pokemon, and if I one-shot them, which doesn't happen for all of them, they can't hit me with something that will deal super effective damage. Also, having a good physical option that isn't resisted by Alakazam is a godsend. Of course, the lower special means an attack like Psybeam, which Alakazam does fire off because I don't one-shot it, will hit hard and hurt like it does here. But thankfully Charizard still only has Ember to this point, and that's a first try victory at Rival 5. Blaine is a first try victory, along with Sabrina and Giovanni, and like in the first playthrough, I hit level 44 once I defeat him, and pop rare candies to 49 before I take on Rival 6. Alakazam isn't a problem going for Reflect after Body Slam barely misses the one shot, and Charizard is an easy 2-shot with Thunder Punch. I reach level 50 and can learn High Jump Kick, and it's so long to Body Slam, but that's okay because High Jump Kick isn't as useful as you might think. It's really only needed for Lorelei. It's a great super effective option against Dugong and Lapras, and a great neutral option for Jinx. Like I did in the first playthrough, I alternate between this move and Thunder Punch. It's almost impossible for you to lose here. And let's jump straight ahead to Agatha. I've kept Spectral Thief just for her, and this is where moveset constraints come in. While you don't need High Jump Kick for Lorelei, it just makes things easier and faster to me. And you don't need Spectral Thief for Agatha as long as you keep the elemental punches or teach Rock Slide or have some move to hit her ghost types. But Spectral Thief just makes this battle so much quicker, and why would you want to use the elemental punches against her ghosts? I'm going to jump straight into the champion battle now. I've deleted High Jump Kick and Spectral Thief for Rock Slide and Mega Kick. I also popped a candy before this battle just to be above a damage rounding threshold. Pidgeot unfortunately hangs on from a Rock Slide and mirror moves it back at me, not doing much, but I really just wanted to showcase Alakazam. It was great to outspeed this Psychic type menace and give it a swift Mega Kick to the dick. And through the power of video editing, we're going to jump straight to Charizard. I miss my first Rock Slide, and it does get off a 5-turn Fire Spin, doing exactly 100 HP of damage. And another miss could spell the end for little Marshadow, but that's not going to happen today, as the champion falls once again. In its follow-up, with stats corrected, Marshadow once again finishes at level 56, but with an in-game time of 2 hours and 27 minutes. 1 minute slower than my first playthrough, but shaving down that real time from 42 minutes and 16 seconds to 38 minutes and 36 seconds. My 6th sub 40 run. As I mentioned earlier in the video, for the longest time, Marshadow stood at the top of the tier list, but now it finds itself in 4th place overall on the spoiler-free tier list. There are other runs I've done behind the scenes, like some redos, that I'm still going to compile into a bigger project. That was a fun one. I really enjoy the Pokemon introduced in Alola, even if some of them have weird designs. Looking at you, Ultra Beasts. And I can't lie, I kind of want to see how a solo run in these games would play. Of course, I'd be cutting out a lot of cutscenes and video editing, but between the base games and the Ultra games, what are your preferences and why? Which, if any, would make for an interesting solo run? Would you want me to do evolutionary lines as opposed to just final forms? And if I were to say stream learning these games, would you want to watch? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you for the continued support on the channel. I'm actually going to provide patch files for both my original Marshadow run and the corrected stats, for anybody that may want to dabble in one over the other, and we're going to stick with Alola next week and see how Alolan Persian performs in a solo run. This is another one that I made months ago, but I'm excited to see how it performs, and I made sure to double check the stats beforehand too. I'll catch you in my next one. Take care, everybody.